It's my feel-good breakfast show.
There's no doubt that every single aspect of the lives that we are accustomed to has been disrupted by the COVID-19 crisis. A particular group that is feeling the uncertainty brought by this pandemic are matriculants, who are tasked with getting a matric certificate and either being accepted for tertiary studies or forging a path to independence. This is, of course, quite a daunting task, and we are being joined this morning by industrial psychologist and management and leadership program developer for South African College of Applied Psychology, Ashley Modine, to take us through what COVID-19 means for matric learners and their parents. A very good morning to you, Ashley. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Morning, Chriselle. Thank you very much for having me on your show today.
What are some of the mental hardships that learners are facing as they navigate, education during a global pandemic like this one?
One of the things that we are noting is just how the new normal is so overwhelming, be it the feelings that we are feeling or even just anxieties and fears and a lot of uncertainty that goes with life in lockdown or even just trying to make sense of your studies during a global pandemic. How do you actually study at a time such as this?
Exactly. Now, with matrics being part of Generation Z, who have grown up using technology, does this put them at an advantage when it comes to adapting to online learning?
Yes, that definitely is a plus for our current learners and students. So we are finding that with your Gen Z students, a lot of the time, social media is a part of the life. It's a part of connecting with the world and making sense of the world, and even things like online learning or being able to connect with others digitally or even source information needed to either increase knowledge or gain a new skill. They are definitely the generation that can navigate that world a little bit better than most generations.
I mean, this entire lockdown process or period has been quite discouraging for many students all over the world. But what can matriculants do to find the motivation to focus on completing the year and furthering education and their lives amidst all the scary news, the stress and the uncertainty?
That's quite a valid question there. So firstly, I think it would be a case of identifying which parts of their career needs the most focus. And I mentioned the word career because ultimately career is not what would happen once they matriculate or once they finish. They are in the middle of their career and there's a transition happening in this space as well. So what is it that you as a learner right now would be needing? Is it to focus on either some of the subjects that are really, really tough for you to wrap your head around, even more so without the support, let's say, of an educator? Or could it be a case of not letting your dreams float away? So in a sense, if you are already planning and thinking of what the next move would be, whether it's further study at a university or college or whether it's starting a business, already start to think about that. And what can you do? We've seen the likes of online open days, for example, featuring. So it really is a case of planning what at least just the next month or two needs to entail. What do you need to do? Because you can't necessarily plan for the whole year when you don't even have certainty about where things are going. So I would just say start planning already and putting some of those plans in place for yourself in your career.
So hold on to your dreams and your aspirations and put in practical steps to achieve them. But let's not say for the rest of the year, for now, for the next month or 2 months. I like that. But parents are also faced with a daunting time of reassuring their children that they will prosper through the crisis. What tips do you perhaps have for parents on how they can manage their academic responsibilities and mental health?
Yes, so you do find that the whole family system or the whole support structure does actually feel the pressure of what's happening. And a guidance that I would have for parents or any caregiver really would be to take a step back as much as they are maybe wanting to make sure that studying is actually happening or make sure that their child is progressing and there's some sort of formal learning that's happening. But take a step back and recognize what feelings you are also struggling with. So what uncertainties do you have? Because as much as you might be worried even about your own child, but they also just need the space to process their own emotions as learners and just understand and reflect on what it is that they're feeling. So take a step back while still being available and still inquiring. It doesn't need to be daily, even if it's a few times a week, and also not when the books are now in front of your learner or your child, in whatever other activity that you might actually find invigorating or that you enjoy doing together, just to find out how they are doing outside of just what school is requiring them to do or what grade 12 pressures require of them.
So take interest in things that they enjoy engaging in or engaging with. Earlier on, we touched on the fact that, you know, the current matriculants are part of Gen Z and they are equipped with technological innovations and platforms, you know, to start learning, etc. But the reality is that we are not equally equipped, you know, to face the unique challenges brought on by COVID-19. What can matrics do if they have limited or no access to digital education?
That's such a real problem, especially in our country currently, where we know that there is that imbalance of not everyone being able to continue with online learning as much as there might be that aspiration from all parties involved trying to make sure it happens. So for a learner finding them in that situation, I would really advise them to, firstly, yes, make your textbook your friend, and it might not necessarily be the only source of learning about something that you have. So get creative as well. We are seeing the likes of industry trends and industry activity. So whichever subject you are even tackling, have a look at how, even from that perspective of that subject, how is COVID being responded to during this time, that you can get from news, from social media, from different places, but the likes of YouTube as well. If you have the facilities or means to be able to engage in things like that, that enable you to enrich your learning without an educator, or even any of the shows that would be available on the SABC side for learners as support during this time that are very subject specific, I think that really is the best, to break it down and do what you can with what you have. And right now, it might just be a textbook. Yes, it's not on a digital platform, but it can still help you to progress and cover the material on your own, or form a study group even, whether it's a WhatsApp study group where you just check in, or an SMS study group just to check in and see where everyone is on what they committed to do or cover and learn that week. That can also be quite helpful.
Do what you can with what you have. That is very sound advice, especially for people who have limitations with regarding to accessing online learning. Thank you so much, Ashley Motene from SACAB, for joining us this morning, you know, to shed a little bit of light and insight on what matriculants and learners are going through amidst this global pandemic. I hope that you have a fantastic morning further.
Thank you.
We hope that her advice has been able to give you the strategies you need to conquer the rest of the year and your life. Good luck, matriculants.